This is awesome. Survivor of Mao regime calls out Mamdani voters. They don't know history.
Socialism and communism. New Hampshire congressional
I love this
candidate
lady.
Lily Tong Williams. Lily, what do you say to Zohran Mamdani, who is the Democrat now running for the mayor here? Or what do you say to people who vote for socialism?
Well, the people who vote for socialism are the ones who never lived it, who never suffered from the hunger and poverty and the lack of freedom and police state. So those people should.
That gotta be deliberate. Mamdana? That's the craziest version I've heard thus far. Like, I get it. Americans can't say ethnic names, okay? I get it. But goddamn, dude, Mamdana?
Should be educated about history better. That's failure of our American education system. Our kids don't know the history, and they bought into free stuff provided by government. That's how Mao sold the socialism, communism to millions Chinese, and the millions of them starving to death by his central planning socialist policies. So I'm running because I don't.
Yeah, dude, China's doing so poorly. Why couldn't they remain under the banner of nationalist forces and, you know, depending on how things went, possibly become a vassal state of England or America and continue the century of humiliation? Really fucked up.
I don't want this country become the country I left. And I don't want anybody to take away my gun rights. That's a God-given rights. I will never compromise.
I love it. Well, Danielle, I want to ask you something that I'm really perplexed about. And it's not only young people that are gravitating towards the AOCs and the Mamdanis of the Democrat Party, but I'm rather perplexed and confused why white, I call them overly educated liberals, when you look at the breakdown of this Democrat mayor.
Overly educated? Overly educated. Okay, that's cool. I guess we're just, I mean, this is the type of shit that, like, I get annoyed when liberals participate in this, where it's like now they're just wearing it like a badge of courage and honor.
Mayoral primary in New York City this week. You're not necessarily seeing the working class. You're not seeing black voters, Hispanic voters. You're not seeing them.
What? Fox News made fun of Joe Biden for a year. Fox News never stopped making fun of the Democrats for saying this same thing. She's like, a real working class movement has, you know, stupid people, not the overly educated white liberals. You're a Republican. What are you saying right now? This is no different than Joe Biden being like, you know, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Them showing out necessarily for Mamdani, but you're seeing the white liberals, and those are the ones that were celebrating, cheering up and down for him. You gotta help me understand, what is it about that group of people that makes them cheer so ferociously for socialism?
Yeah, thank you all, and thank you for having me. Good to see you all again. Look, what really concerns me about this is what you said, Tommy, that it is really highly educated young people who turned out for Mamdani. And it is really not shocking because I went to Columbia for my PhD and I saw it myself. People there are the most supportive of socialism. And the reason is because of our colleges here in America. That was one of the most shocking things I saw when I first came to America.
That's amazing. This guy is awesome. I was not expecting this voice. Is he Venezuelan?
In 2016 was that it was higher education that was captured by Marxists. And so what happened in Venezuela, that people voted for a socialist regime, unlike in China or unlike in the Soviet Union, can clearly happen here too. And Mamdani might not be able to turn New York City into Caracas because he's mayor and not tyrant, but
bro, they don't call me the fucking hog whisperer for no reason, bitch. Oh, what happened now? Chatters were like, you did not say he's Venezuelan. Yeah, bitch, I did. I know my international hog. You feel me? Don't test me, bro.
The point is, Americans are willing to vote for someone like him. And today is New York City, tomorrow is the rest of America.
Well, his campaign, he's the child of a famous film director, and his campaign is definitely kind of social media managed. It has that kind of film of like a filter over it. He always tilts his head to seem more endearing when he's on camera. Daniel, doesn't that have something to do with it?
I think he's extremely charismatic, and that's why he's extremely dangerous. I think he lies even when he smiles. I mean, I have very strong opinions about him. His middle name is actually after the dictator of Ghana, not some civil rights leader, but somebody who was named president for life. And so he's friends with the Democratic Socialists of America. That's who trained him. This is an organization that regularly sends people to meet with the dictators of Cuba and Venezuela. He does not want to make New York City into Scandinavia. He wants to make us into Venezuela. The question is whether we will let him. It's whether Americans will let these socialist ideas take over.
Lily, I know that you have fled horrible conditions, and so many immigrants like yourself, they're saying the same thing that you are. Listen, don't make America like the place that I fled from. Now, this is New York City. Obviously, it's deep blue. How concerned are you that other places, maybe not as deep blue as New York City, are going to follow this example? And do you think this is going to be the way that the Democrat Party trends?
Yes, I have seen the radical left wing of Democrat Party took over their voter bases, and that's one of the tactics they use. They use cultural Marxism, identity politics to divide and conquer. They control the media, social media, and schools, and cultural institutions, like take over some churches and nuclear families and get the kids against their parents and walk away to authority figures. Those are very similar to what I saw under Mao's Cultural Revolution. That's why I'm warning people that we don't want to go down that way, because they sell you free stuff to get you buy into it. Once they totally disarm you and silence you and install police state.
I can't think of a bigger, more shameful experience than being a Chinese person who Mao played a formative role in educating and uplifting, only to fucking turn around and just bark for the most right-wing racist interests in this country. What a shame.
State destabilize our country, then you will lose all your natural rights guaranteed by the founding fathers in the documentation called the independence, our constitution.
Lily Tong Williams. And
I was talking to a Persian person I know, and she was saying, my parents, they hate communism. My Iranian parents hate communism because they say they were some of them were killed by communists. And I was like, what do you mean? And she explained the detail. She explained in detail what happened. And it turns out that she had immediate family members that were actually Iranian communists, and they fled to Azerbaijan when the Shah came into power. It's the same thing. It's always the same shit. It's like Ted Cruz being like, oh, I hate communism. My parents were tortured by communists. I mean, they were tortured by Batista. It's like, dude, that's not, what are you talking about? I know you are relying. I know you're relying on the average American not to know, but you can't jot that as a fucking victim of communism if your parents ran away from the guy that the communists actually toppled, the American-backed dictator, Batista.
While many on the left are rejoicing in Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani's success in New York City mayoral primary, some Democrats are speaking out against his proposal. So great to see you, Congresswoman. Thank you for joining us. So this really is, first of all, were you shocked by the outcome of this?
I was pretty surprised, yes.
Why?
Well, I just didn't think that New York would elect someone who's a self-proclaimed socialist to lead the city that is the global epicenter of capitalism. So I was very surprised, and I spoke out because first of all, my job is to advocate for my constituents. I'm gravely concerned that if he became mayor and implemented some of these policies, we're going to see an exodus from New York. It's going to crater our economy. It's going to drive up taxes that will be passed on to my constituents, and it will destroy our state's economy as well. He ran a campaign based on a bunch of promises that...
So what happens when that doesn't happen? I mean, that's the real fear here, by the way, chatters. The real fear for people like this is not that, what they're fantasizing is going to happen. The real fear is that Zohran wins and it doesn't happen. And then the people go, why can't we have that? That's the real fear. Make no mistake, because that would require every politician, Democrat or Republican alike, to actually do right by their constituents. They are not afraid that Zohran is going to lead to an exodus of capital from New York City and New York State. They know that that is not the case. They know that that's not going to happen. The real fear is that it won't happen and Zohran will be successful. And then that will require them to actually go against the interests of capital And their positions rely on them not going against the interests of capital, but instead defending the interests of capital, as is what she's doing right now.
He cannot deliver on. He doesn't have the legal authority to do half the things that he said he's going to do. It shows that he either misrepresented what he can do to the constituents of this city, or he doesn't have a fundamental understanding of what the role of mayor is. You cannot raise taxes if you are the mayor of New York City. He sits in the state assembly. He should know.
Wait, why are you worried then? I don't get it. Okay. So he's making a lot of promises and he's not going to be able to capitalize on it. Then why are you worried? Why would that lead to an exodus then? I don't get it. So nothing will change?
Know that. And the governor has already signaled that she is not going to approve this tax hike that he is proposing. He doesn't have the authority to do that.
Or even a fundamental understanding of how life works. I want to play this because I think it captures. This is not a casual socialist like, some 18-year-old talking about stuff. He's actually thought about this stuff, and he's a true socialist. And let's play this clip real quick, and then I want to get your reaction.
You're a proud democratic socialist. Do you think that is a platform that would work for other candidates running in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is a campaign about inequality. And you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality because it's a national issue. And part of how we got to this point was through the endorsements of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, who've been leading this fight against oligarchy across the country.
And you can hear him talking about wanting to rework the way distribution of wealth is done, as if that happens through the government and the government is going to create a grocery store. And
if that's not how it's done, or if that can't happen, why are you worried? It's not up to the government to offer social safety nets. What are you, fucking stupid? What is this, communist vuvuzela? What are you, out of your freaking mind?
It's kind of bonkers.
Listen, he addressed the cost of living crisis. We are facing a cost of living crisis. But the way forward for Americans and the way forward for my party is to find concrete solutions, to find ways to lower the cost of living for everyday Americans, and not promise to be Santa Claus and give everything for free when you can't.
Wait, okay, that's what he's doing. We need to find a way to cut the cost for everyday Americans. No, not like that. It seems like you want to actually cut the cost for everyday Americans, and I don't like that.